The art of camera movement can be split into two eras: before Steadicam and after Steadicam. The invention changed how filmmakers could move their camera and continues to evolve to this day. So how does this stabilizer work, and how do the greats use it?
Just keep it steady.
Oh, thank you for the tip, Ortiz.
This is What is the Steadicam? Before we start gliding, subscribe to Studio Binder and click the bell to stay in the know on all things filmmaking. Let's get moving. Before Steadicams, getting a camera to move smoothly through space could really only be achieved with a dolly or a crane. A Steadicam is a type of camera stabilizer which is mounted to a vest worn by an operator, reducing unwanted shaking during camera moves. When Garrett Brown invented the device in 1974, filmmakers quickly took advantage of the new freedom it afforded them, enlisting Brown to capture famous sequences like those in Rocky and The Shining. Scenes that, without the Steadicam, would have been nearly impossible. Brown explains why he saw a need for his creation.
People broke down moving camera shots in what now appear to me, rather primitive ways. You either zoom, or you push in, or you dolly to the left or right, turning camera movement into a mechanistic phenomenon that resembled the moves you get from the gear at the time. What was missing, and it took me years to understand this, is the glorious continuity of movement that we have as humans.
The label Steadicam itself is a brand which since 2000 has been owned by Tiffin, but people often use the term to refer to any vest stabilizer. A Steadicam has three basic parts: a vest, an isoelastic arm which comprises two parallel bars and a spring system that limit unwanted vertical movement, and a sled. The sled is made up of a top stage where the camera is mounted, as well as a post with a counterweight at the other end, which typically comprises a monitor and batteries. The Steadicam works by increasing a camera's moment of inertia, which essentially refers to its resistance to motion. When balancing the rig, the center of gravity shifts down to the gimbal, which attaches the arm to the sled. This allows a Steadicam operator to move the camera with gentle movements. Today, Steadicams are one out of a plethora of stabilizer options. So what makes it continue to stand out, and which stabilizer is right for you?
There's just so many options.
Stabilizers can largely be sorted into three categories: handheld, 3-axis gimbals, and vest stabilizers. Handheld stabilizers are the cheapest option and operate essentially as a smaller version of a Steadicam sled. This means that they don't have the arm to mitigate vertical movement and can result in fatigue faster, which is why they are typically used with lighter cameras. In recent years, 3-axis gimbals have become increasingly popular. These three-pronged devices utilize inertia along with electric motors to eliminate a large amount of camera shake, and are typically much easier for beginners to use than vest stabilizers. Steadicam operator Merlin Showalter explains.
The great thing about gimbals is that because you have the electronic motors, as long as you program it right and you balance it right and you have it set to the correct settings, it can do a lot of the work for you.
But they too are typically not as good at combating vertical movement, and often have a drifting motion before they come to a stop. This makes vest stabilizers typically the preferred choice on professional productions, but that doesn't mean they are perfect. Because the traditional Steadicam relies solely on inertia, it is subject to the whims of physics. Fast turns can result in a camera tilting, for example. Newer versions of vest stabilizers have sought to solve this problem. Horizon stabilizers, such as the Steadicam Volt, counteract pendulum effects to hold horizon. The RE Trinity includes a 3-axis stabilizer on top of a traditional Steadicam rig, allowing for wider array of movements and higher level of control. Deciding between a handheld stabilizer, a 3-axis gimbal, and a vest stabilizer means taking several considerations into account. What camera are you using, and how heavy is it? What crew will you have on hand, and how experienced are they with stabilizers? Typically, more elaborate stabilizers like Steadicams require experienced and specialized operators. And last, but never least, what's your budget? If you decide a vest stabilizer is the right tool for you, it's not as simple as strapping on the vest. Let's look at how to use a Steadicam. There is a reason Steadicam operator is a specific position in a film crew. Steadicams can be challenging to learn, often requiring training at specific workshops and multiple years of experience to truly become comfortable with it. Steadicam operators often own their own gear and will attend equipment check to balance their sled with the camera being used. On the day of the shoot, a Steadicam operator will usually talk through the shots with the director and cinematographer. They can decide the height of the camera. If the director wants a low-angle shot, the rig can be put into low mode, with the batteries and monitor on top of the sled and the camera at the bottom. When it comes time to film, the camera will be mounted to the sled before it is attached to the arm. Often, the camera will be mounted with wireless transmitters to allow for remote viewing and focus pulling. Next, the operator will put on the vest, ensuring it is snug and centered on their chest with no gaps in the shoulder. They'll then attach the arm and the sled. When operating the rig, it is advised to hold the gimbal grip loosely since it only needs light pressure to shift the camera. Operators typically aim to stand with their hips at a 45-degree angle to the rig, leaning back slightly to compensate for the weight of the sled. When beginning a move, the operator will push the camera forward before walking, resulting in a smoother motion. The reverse is done when coming to a stop. If the shot requires the camera to be in front of the actors while they walk, the Steadicam operator will often do what is called a Don Juan, having the camera facing backwards while they face forward, watching through the monitor. This ensures they can walk more smoothly and safely. When a shot is complete, the operator will place the sled back on the stand. This keeps the rig at the ready while minimizing the amount of time the operator has to hold its weight. Using a Steadicam can be physically demanding, and so avoiding fatigue should always be prioritized. Of course, Steadicam operating isn't a solely technical skill. It also requires creativity. So, when should you use a Steadicam? As seasoned Steadicam operators will tell you, don't use the tool just to use it.
It's open to abuse, Steadicam, and one of the roles of the operator, the Steadicam operator, is to be the arbiter of taste with using the Steadicam and how you use it, is almost, a sort of don't just put it on and wang the thing around to create false interest in something.
When a Steadicam is used deliberately, it can create a stunning and dynamic shot. Steadicams can go where dollies can't, squeezing in tight spaces and maneuvering over the uneven surfaces, or just simply going upstairs. Typically, a great Steadicam shot requires great blocking. A walk and talk can be much more than just walking in front of the actors. It can establish space, characters, and relationship, as this shot does in Point Break.
This is us. Bank robbery. And you are now in the bank robbery capital of the world.
1,322 last year in LA County, up 26% from the year before.
That's correct. And we nailed over 1,000 of them. Miss Deere, take a look at that for me.
Smart blocking usually means motivated camera movement. Why is the camera moving? And why can't it be stationary?
Thank you, sir. All right, see you later. Thanks.
What are you doing?
In the famous Goodfellas shot, it could be argued that the camera move is motivated simply because the characters are moving. But the character's entrance could have also been covered in a series of panning shots. The Steadicam does more than just follow the characters. The smooth movement highlights the smooth-moving protagonist. At this point in the film, everything comes easy to him.
How you doing?
Henry, nice to see you.
Yeah, good seeing you.
Hi, how are you? Anthony, right in the front.
Great, thanks.
Anything you need.
Steadicams can do more than just track. They can tilt, pan, or even Dutch tilt. A Steadicam also doesn't have to be attached to a person. For faster moving shots, the rig can be attached to a moving vehicle or dolly. This way, the smoothness can be maintained, but the movement can be sped up. This is how the shining hallway shots were achieved.
The idea of me running, for example, after Danny on his big wheel Yours truly, at age 34 or whatever, would have gotten about 3 passes around that hotel, and I could have been sent home in a pillowcase. So we had to invent ways of doing it, and we invented vehicle shots. And the winning object was a wheelchair that Kubrick had made for himself so that he could be wheeled along shooting handheld.
The famous Warner from Atonement uses a bit of both, with the Steadicam operator riding in a dolly for a bit of the shot, and then dismounting partway through. The Birdcage pushes this concept even further, beginning on a helicopter before transitioning with a hidden dissolve to a Steadicam. In The Return of the Jedi, Garrett Brown simulated the feeling of flying by shooting at about 1 frame per second as he led the Steadicam through the woods. When played back at 24 frames per second, the footage maintained its smoothness but zoomed much more quickly. A Steadicam operator can also do something like this, but it's probably not recommended. Steadicams and stabilizers like them are a powerful gift to filmmakers, creating movement that 60 years ago would have been nearly unheard of. You just have to think up the shot. Start planning your elaborate Warner with Studio Binder's pre-production software. Using storyboards and shot lists, you can mark which shots will require a Steadicam, which will help you determine your shooting schedule. That's all for now. Time to move forward smoothly.